was
Yeah.
always behind the scenes, and I think by going to that program in London, it was such a safe place for me, man. Such a
Yeah.
safe place. And I was already comfortable in my own skin, but I'm like, man, it just allowed me just to be even more comfortable. I did a lot of spoken word there and just letting people see the different facets of my creativity, and you just, as a creative, you're very vulnerable, man. You have to
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the things that the young folks today, just with the onset of social media and bombarding them, and it's like, oh, I have to get so many likes and so many people have to follow me, and I'm just
Yes.
like, man, whatever, man. It's like it or hate it, I don't care, especially at
Right.
this age. I mean, this is the age I'm
Right.
at right now. I mean, I probably wouldn't have said that 25 years ago, but yeah, but right now, yeah, it is what it is, it is what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, you guys, welcome to the Art School Graduate Podcast. Today, my guest is a former basketball player turned starving artist, turned self-taught designer, now a creative director, building his career inside communities and industries that are overlooked. He is the founder of United Colors of Design and the creator of Dawah Ink and a spoken word artist. Ladies and gentlemen, the conversation you just heard from this brilliant man, Mustafa Horton. Mustafa, my brother, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I appreciate that warm welcome, man. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me on, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. I just hit record. Ladies and gentlemen, we were talking for about a good 20 minutes and I just hit record and he blessed us with just a great intro for our conversation to just roll into. We spoke about everything, you guys, like why are we here? What are we doing? The connections we're slowly starting to make in life as designers. So Mustafa, let's talk about it. Most
Sure.
designers have a design school history, but for people hearing this for the first time, you had a basketball scholarship. So how did you connect those two visions? Was it always design was there and I'm going to use basketball to get to it? Or was it just basketball first, whatever else happens, happens?
Honestly, man, like art was always my first love, and basketball was such a close second. And as I grew, basketball just kind of overshadowed it. I mean, I'm a self-taught artist. I just consider myself like an artist, and then I transitioned into design. But only my family, I would say, and my close friends knew I was an artist. Like I had sketchbooks and I would draw and things of that nature. But the way that I kind of showed my artistic flair, I guess, was through fashion. Sneakers. I was a sneakerhead back in the day, and I still am. I mean, I
Hmm.
love sneakers. But I really wanted to go into fashion design. This is the route
Hmm.
that I wanted to take. But, getting a scholarship to play basketball, it's so time consuming and there's no way I could do both of them. And so because I loved basketball, I ate, slept, drank basketball. I was cool with it. It didn't bother me that I had to put the art or design to the side at that point in my life,
Right.
because I was so committed to playing in basketball, like art, it just kind of came natural to me. It's not like something I had to really train for, go to school for,
Right.
but just having that kind of internal drive and
Hmm.
like, always kind of
Yeah.
being underrated and then saying,
Yeah.
hey, man, I have to prove the doubters. I have to, prove them that I should be here and that, I'm capable of
Yeah.
playing this, this level of basketball. But yeah, it wasn't until, I actually lost my scholarship, due
Mm.
to, being a poor student athlete. And
Mm.
and that's how I basically fell back on my art. In college, I didn't have really too much time to sketch and things of this
Right.
nature. I was practice in school and travel and all that good stuff. But once that happened when I was in Florida, I said, hey man, because I lost the love for it. Like I had this unconditional love for it at first.
Right.
And
Right.
then
Right.
once I lost that scholarship, I said, oh man, I'm gonna fall back on art. This is what
Hmm.
I've always wanted to do. I'm gonna be this black Picasso. This is what I'm
Right.
gonna do.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's
So
kind of how it happened.
what did that actual period teach you about yourself? Because that can be devastating. Because we even know, for example, I played football. I understand it. Like when you fall out of love with it and then you go in to do something else, you kind of don't even look at it anymore. But then we have those people that chase after it so fervently. And then when it doesn't pay out for them, they become like depressed. So what did that time teach you about yourself?
I mean, I think that I was still really immature, at that point in my life. I was 21 years old, but because I don't know, I've just never been the person to say this one hiccup is going to prevent me from doing something great or trying to be great. And I just had this drive. I don't know. I was always just I've always put myself out there and saying, "Hey, this is who I am," and trying to I don't know, it's not like I was trying to be a trendsetter or I was trying to um, come up with something so unique and genuine, but that's just
Mhm,
the era that I grew up in with
mhm,
hip hop. I'm like grew up in the golden era of it. So I can remember when I was 12 years old, it's like, Sugar Hill Gang and, and
dang.
breakdancing and popping and locking. And I think kind of growing up in that era taught me that you have to be unique. You have to be distinct. You cannot be like anyone else. And then you have to be comfortable with that. And I think when I fell out of sorts with basketball, I was comfortable with just being an artist and creating, my own style. And like it or not, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. Somebody's going to like it. And so I think I titled it back then like abstract realism because
Mhm,
it has this like abstract kind of look, but it still has realist, kind of portrait like
mhm.
or symbolism to it, I guess, if you want to say. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was tough, man. Honestly, it was extremely humbling, bro, because I had to I was a starting point guard,
Mhm.
and for the second semester of that year, I sat on the bench in street clothes.
Dang.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
so but everything happens for a reason in life, man. And
Mhm.
I'm happy that it went that way, because it's gotten me to where I am today.
Most people would have quit, bro. I'm just gonna say it. Let's be real. Most people would have quit. But what honestly kept you going? Did you look at it as failure or did you look at it as this is a test and I must pass this test? What was your optics?
I think it was that I'm given an opportunity to do something that was my first love that I neglected, for so many years. And so I looked at it as it was a test, for my family. I can remember my mother like, oh man, your other friends have finished school and you're still trying to figure out what you're trying to do with your life. Cause I took like a 4-year hiatus from school just to kind of figure out like, what am I going to do? And then I said, man, I'm gonna do art. I'm just gonna focus on art. And then I had some people that were promoting my stuff that was in the southeast region of the states, and was in some art shows, and I was slowly selling my originals, and I was happy with that. I was content because it was like self gratification. It's like I created something and somebody likes it and they purchased it. So I think that's the thing that really kept me going.
Mhm.
And again, like I said, I come up like hip hop, man, like that genre had such an impact on my creative career. I mean, honestly, and my creative like development,
Yeah.
because back then nobody sounded the same. Everyone was unique. Everybody had their own style, their own cadence, whatever they spoke about. And I, gravitated towards more kind of conscious rap, if you want to say back then, KRS and, and of course I like Tribe because they mixed the jazz and their wordplay. But yeah, I think that was the thing that just, can I actually do this and make some money? Can I sell work that people appreciate and like? And
Yeah.
it's me at the end of the day. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's my work. It's like, like it or hate it. I really don't
Yeah.
care. It's like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep on pushing.
Yeah. So during this journey, you had a friend come and speak to you, 97. That
Yeah.
changed your whole trajectory of life.
Dang.
So, what about that advice? First off, share the story of what was spoken to you, and then my question is, what about that advice finally clicked for you?
So, this was during that 4-year hiatus. And I moved back to Denver from Jacksonville, Florida. And a classmate of mine, I remember we were at my house and he is into music production and he has like a little in-house studio and we're both like artistic. And so I had these pieces of colored pencil and I did a piece for him. It was called Fingertips. I think that's how kind of the conversation started. It was called Fingertips and it's like a piece of Stevie Wonder, like on the keys, and then the keys say fingertips, and it's a color pencil piece. And so he
Nice.
was like, "Bro, like, man, you're talented, man, but you're not gonna make it as an artist, like a purely as an artist. it's just too difficult, to get the following. And he said you should just transition yourself into design. Like you should market yourself as a designer because you already have those skill sets. Because I used to draw logos for people. I used to draw logos, and I did my mother was like a culinary artist, and she had a company
Hmm.
called Sweet Tooth Catering. And so I did the logo for her company. And these are like, before computers and everything. And so I was hand drawing a lot of logos. And so I knew typography to a certain degree because I could mimic things. I like great design. And so I would just try to mimic it. That's what I would try to do. I would look at a lot of great design. And then influenced by like Swiss design and Baja's
Hmm.
design. And so I took his advice to heart, man, because I said, yeah, it's a bit more structured. It's
Hmm.
utilitarian, like graphic design. Like art is whatever you throw up on the wall, you can sell as art.
Right.
But there's more discipline when it comes to being a designer. But I already had like I said, typography, color palette, and all that. I knew all that stuff, but that just came
Yeah.
natural to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you self-taught yourself Adobe Creative Suite from scratch.
Yeah.
Brother, I bought my first Adobe Creative, what was it, Photoshop off Craigslist. So I get trying to just get access to these things and learn it. And listen, I did the same thing you did. Through my research, I found out you had a secondhand Mac that barely had enough storage. Man, I had a portable, I had to carry one of them portable SD drives, the brick ones that was like that big. I had to plug it in and make sure I could run it from there. So man,
Yeah,
it's these
exactly.
stories are great when I hear people first introduction into design. But
Yeah,
for me
yeah.
is what did that process of self-teaching actually look like? And what did it do for your confidence? Because I'm telling you, you didn't do the school route, which probably was
No.
nicer because I'm telling you, you can have some great design professors and terrible design professors. So what
Yeah.
did that process teach you?
That actually happened later, a bit later in life as far as doing some continuing education. But at that point, you know, I was like, okay, how am I going to be able to create the work for these clients? My background, a lot of my experience was in retail management. Like I started off as a retail salesperson, and then I gradually moved myself up in the ranks to I had an internship, I had, and so I was a people person. I'm very comfortable in sitting down and talking to people and hearing where they're at and listening and then saying, hey, let me try to guide you this way or guide you that way. And so in reaching into the community I was in, the Muslim community, these business owners, they needed, advertisement, they needed business cards, they needed this type of stuff. And so my brother actually he brought that Mac home he worked for a company called Houston in Virginia. We lived together in Maryland, and he brought this old Mac and he was just like, yo. And so I started working out on that. And then he was at the University of Maryland at that time. And so I would go to their computer lab and and they thought I was like a grad student, like they're in the school of design. And so they would just
Yeah.
let me in. It's like, hey, come on. And so I would observe what people were doing. I would go in there, and the one thing that I felt really comfortable with was Illustrator. A lot of people went into Photoshop, like their early beginnings
Yeah.
with the Adobe Suite is like Photoshop. Mine was Illustrator because that was the closest thing to drawing that I could do.
Hmm.
So, I would use that mouse as it was like a pencil, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then speaking to other people who were a bit more proficient in it than I was,
Hmm.
that's how I learned as well. Looking over the shoulder of people and actually them looking over my shoulder and saying, giving me kind of the shortcuts, but I made it work for me. It was like a tool
Uh-huh.
at the end of the day. I might not know all the shortcuts. I might not know, I might not
Right.
use it as you're supposed to use it by the book,
Right.
but I made it work, and I produced
Right.
some good stuff, with that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's talk about the moment you attended portfolio reviews at the Art Institute in Washington and at Maryland Institute College of Art. But you went not as a student, but just to test yourself. Bro,
Yeah.
why? Why do that? Why stress yourself? Why put yourself through there?
I'm always up for the challenge, man. I think that's the thing. Like I'm kind of wired as the athlete, and it's like, okay, you don't think that I can go with you guys? Okay,
Just
let's
why?
let's 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 see, let's see. So basically, it was like, how do I rank against people coming out with degrees in this profession, in this space. So I was like, okay, I have a decent portfolio of work. I had, done, advertisement and I've done some rebranding and I've done, corporate identity. And so I brought some brochures. I brought that stuff. And yeah, at that, I think that was like in 2002, man, like at the Art Institute at Washington, D.C., when unfortunately, they folded, that institute. But yeah, a professor was just like, man, you've done some pretty good work. He honestly, know what he said? He said, you could actually teach here. And I was like, nah, there's no way I could teach here.
Yeah.
The imposter syndrome, like right there as like as a 28, 29-year-old guy. And I'm like, nah, there's no way I could teach this. But he did challenge me and he said, you've done some good work for other people, but your identity, it could use some work. And I took that to heart, man. I was like, oh, really? Okay, okay. You know,
Wow.
I took it on the
Yeah.
chin. I said, okay, but again, it's when you're hearing from these professors and they're going through students that are going to be going into the workforce and they're critiquing their work and they're telling you that you could actually teach at the institute, man, that's like such
Tells you
a
a lot.
boost of confidence. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, I don't necessarily have to attend one of these design schools, even though I wish I would have. But I was like, I still think I have all the tools in my toolbox, to get
Uh-huh.
to where I'm trying to get to. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And the
Right.
same thing was there for Maryland Institute College of Art. That was like a year later when I went to Maryland College of Art, and the dean was like, man, you can take course study here if you like. He gave me like
Mm.
a permission, like so he gave me like a document saying that I could take to admissions and like he doesn't have to go through any kind of application process or anything. We're giving him
Right.
permission to take course study here. So I ended up doing that and I took some publication design and advertising design that were taught by professionals in the local Baltimore
Hmm.
area, which was really eye-opening,
Hmm.
because you're getting it from someone who is actually in the environment, and they're giving you a lot
Right.
of practical knowledge. They're testing your skill set and they're testing your creativity, but then they're giving you that practical piece too. It's like if
Right.
you're ever trying to freelance or if you ever want to develop a studio, take heed, to some of these pieces that I'm giving you. And that was
Right.
really, really beneficial. I really loved that period of
Yeah.
my design career. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just curious about this. You spoke about it a little bit ago where you said your design portfolio was almost entirely doing work for your community, the Muslim community, and working with startups and small businesses and nonprofits. So I'm curious to know, what was community design? What did working in that community teach you that a traditional agency path would have never taught you?
I think the probably the client relationship building part of it and selling your idea to a client. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Convincing them that you have the skill set, you have the ability to solve their problem. Because at the end of
Hmm.
the day, we're problem solvers. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I had that actually already in my toolbox just from the work experience that I had, in
Right.
retail. I mean, I worked at the Gap, I worked at Banana Republic, I worked at Dillard's. I had worked all these type of sales jobs, and I had an internship with like J.C. Penney back in the day, and even I worked with IKEA. That's when I first started working with IKEA. And so again, it's not a cookie cutter approach. Even when you're in the retail space, you're always speaking to people where they're at, and you're trying to solve a problem for them in a sense.
Hmm.
So utilizing that within the community, honestly, in the community, I did a calendar design
Hmm.
and from that money, I was able to purchase my first desktop. I bought a
Wow.
Dell desktop system for like
Mhm.
back then, I think it was like maybe $1,500 or something like that. It was like in 2003, I think I bought that.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
that was and so that was really like, oh man, a breath of fresh air. So
Mhm.
gratifying and rewarding that, man, I did like work for someone and they paid me what I asked. And I was
Mhm.
able to like reward myself with a system to allow me to continue producing work. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, you know, just people were just giving me an opportunity, giving me a chance, man. A lot of
Mhm.
times it's cutthroat and people are going to just turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to you. They're not going to give you an
Yeah.
opportunity to do anything, you know.
Right.
If you're not in an agency or you're not with one of these, you know, branding consultancies that are known, you
Right.
know, they were
Right.
like, "Hey, you know, we see the work that you've done. We see how active you are in the community as a brother, you know. We see you with us all the time." And they're just like, "We didn't know you did this type of work." I was like, "Yeah." And
That's
I
dope.
think the passion came out, you know, like I've
Yeah.
always been so passionate about what I'm trying to do. And I think
Yeah.
they saw that and they gave me a chance and I'm
Mhm.
so grateful and thankful because that really was a springboard to doing so many other things and the confidence that I needed. I mean, I had it. But it's like when you hear it from somebody else, it's like, okay, yeah, you're in the right space, you know, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get there.
So with you working in all these different parts of the world, like different countries, different communities, you're traveling and doing all this. What did working across those very different cultures teach you about visual communication?
That it's a lot of times it's unique to the culture, to the environment that you're in,
Mhm.
and you can still see the beauty in it, even if it's like, say, not in your language. For instance, like when I was over in Saudi Arabia, I lived over there for a total of 8 years, but 6 years with my family. And I worked with IKEA in Saudi Arabia. And so you got to see, you know, the visual language, say like the branding of IKEA, it's uniform even though it's in Arabic, you know, or it's in, you know, another part of the country, but you got to see the beauty of some of the motif and, you know, being in the Arab land, you know, and
Yes.
the Arab the yeah, like the intricate, you know, tiling or the
Yeah.
beautiful calligraphy
Yes.
that you just don't see every day, you know, in the West
Mhm.
unless you're kind of like in that environment, like you're doing it yourself or something. Over there, that's just, you know, a part of the makeup. And so,
Right.
um, I mean, even over there, man, I was working within the retail, you know, with IKEA. I also worked within the educational sector. Like I worked with university, you know, Cambridge University Press. But on the side, I still freelanced, even over there. I went
Oh,
to
wow.
like an office of propagating, you know, Islam, and I did book cover designs. I did poster designs. You know, I kept my finger on, you know what I'm saying, the
Pulse.
pulse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to because it's like a child you have to feed. It's like it's
Yeah.
always hungry. It's always like pulling on you. And it's like
Yeah.
if you don't feed it, it's gonna become malnourished and it's gonna die, man. And so
Right.
you know, that was the thing, even over there, even during those years, any opportunity I got, even when I was with Cambridge University Press, I said, hey, you know, I'll do, you know, it could be for an event, you
Yeah.
know, a conference. Oh, I'll do the lantern design. I'll do some, you
Yeah.
know, I was making sure I was keeping, you know, in touch and honestly, that's where I found under consideration.
Mhm.
Bronny and Armit, this husband and wife tandem that puts on these beautiful design conferences. They
Mhm.
do brand new conference, they do in-house and focus now, and they do first round. And these are
Mhm.
all about corporate identity, branding, and I stumbled across them online when I was in Saudi Arabia because I was always looking for best practice, you know,
Right.
because I want to try to mimic it the best is the best way that I can because you know, I don't have that kind of traditional knowledge and
Right.
base as a designer. So I'm always just looking at who has won awards in design and you know, and I'm really attracted and working with IKEA too. They
Yeah.
do good Swiss design as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, I want to pause for a second and talk about the Middle East design.
Hey.
Not many people know this, but my wife is Middle Eastern. She is Iraqi and Egyptian.
Okay. My wife
We
is
have
Egyptian.
what is it called? What is it? I think what is it? Her dad's Egyptian, her mom's Iraqi. So she's got the fire and ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know
You
exactly what
don't
I'm talking
yeah,
about.
you don't even have to explain.
But shout out to our wives. We love you guys.
Course, of course. I wouldn't
But
be here
when
if it
we
wasn't
took a
for her.
right. So when we went to our first trip to the to the Middle East was we went to Dubai. And I can tell you, man, being an art guy, going to their museum, seeing those tapestries, I was just like, I love it. I love it. Like it tickled my sparkle to say, you know? So I must say I agree with you on their calligraphy status and what they do is because my background originally is graffiti. So anything that
Mm,
comes to that, I'm like, how did you do it? What does it look like? And seeing that over there was just crazy. And then when
yeah.
we took a trip last year to go to Egypt. We went
Mm,
oddly enough during Ramadan. We went to Egypt last year and
nice.
it was beautiful to go to the the um, the pyramids and then the museums and seeing the hieroglyphics that was like kind of like the first original forms of communication and graffiti. I was just like,
Right.
wow. Like, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
also seeing there the beautiful patterns they put together. And I was
Yeah.
just like, so some of these early designers came from the Middle East
Oh,
looking at
yeah,
it.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
coming from the
Oh, yeah.
continent of Africa, and I was just floored to
Yeah.
see some of this stuff, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful." And now I get it more when I see, like, the Persian rugs, like an authentic Persian rug, like, not the ones in the States, but like an authentic hand-done Persian
Yeah.
rug.
Yeah.
It's telling a
Nah,
story. It's
of course.
beautiful. It is
That
telling the most
tapestry. Yes.
yes, the most elegant, beautiful story ever. So I was just
Yeah.
floored when I was like, "Man, it's just beautiful." You know what I
Yes.
mean?
It's dope. Yeah, man, for real. It's like
Yeah.
just the intricate patterns, the
Yes.
weaving,
Yes.
the craftsmanship, like how they take that so much to heart, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like a labor of love, you know what I'm saying?
100%, 100%,
Yeah.
and even down to their jewelry.
Yeah.
When we were in Egypt, I learned a lot when it came to the jewelry aspect of it and jewelry design and how a lot of it is done by hand. Like these dudes have these little chisels, probably as big as like the front of a pin, like this, and they're just with a
Hmm.
hammer, just doing these elegant, ornate, like Argyle styles on rings and bracelets. And I was just like, wow. Like it floored me to just see them do it by hand. And the thing is, it's like it's so easy. There wasn't a like a
Yeah.
fight or a push for them to like, oh, let me go online and look it up. It's like, oh, no, this is going to tell a story of this. So let me hit this and do this and add this dove here and add this symbol here and add this there. And I'm like, that's you can't
The
teach
the
that.
craftsmanship, yeah,
Yes.
the craftsmanship is just amazing. I mean, just, in that region and in other
Yes.
parts of the world, man, how people, like I said, they just take it to heart. And
Yes.
it's being able, I think, to kind of slow down, you know what I mean? And really appreciate, things that are produced by hand. I mean, that's why I love, bespoke, garb. And because there's something about it. I mean, even in this day and age where everything is digital and AI, but there's something about picking up a book, an old design book, or a magazine, as a brother said, he said, he told some younger creatives, it's like, if you're able to get to a public library, go and
Mhm.
look at books, or if not, if you can buy books, because old is gold,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah.
It's just something about turning the page, earmarking the page, highlighting things in the book, that sort of thing. Yeah, yeah. I think, as you said, that high craftsmanship and just bespoke
Yes.
goods, like one of 200, and they're never the same. Oh, they're
Mhm.
all unique. Even if it looks the same, it's not, because it's not machine made, it's handmade.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think as an artist, as a visual artist, I
Yeah.
really appreciate, that craftsmanship and that type of work, no doubt.
Yeah. So being in that space for that amount of time, how did that change the way you think about creativity and your audience? Because I learned design here in the States.
Mm.
But when me and my wife got married, we began to travel to other countries. I started to see how, I hate to say it, we kind of lack a little bit in the States. We kind of pigeonholed ourselves to certain ideas and how it should be and what it should look like. But I feel like for you, something else clicked. So, how did it change the way you thought about creativity and audience?
I don't know, man. I think that, again, I have to kind of go back to look forward, like I have to go back to that genre, that hip hop genre that these people were so creative, whether it's graffiti writing, whether it's poetry, whether
Yeah.
it's DJing, they created something from nothing, man, and I think that, if you're a creative person, it's something that you really don't learn. You either kind of have this kind of creativeness or creativity about yourself,
Hmm.
or you don't, and you're always willing to push the envelope, always, to keep it unique, to keep it genuinely you, to be your most
Right.
authentic self. And I think that's the thing. I think it maybe wasn't so much about the environment, where I was. I mean, I was taking it in. I'm a people watcher, no doubt,
Yeah. 100% I am too.
and yeah, and I love to just, sit back and look at things, and observe, but it's all that input that helps to keep, that creative fever going. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like just to take a step and say, if it's good enough for me, hey, it's good enough. You know
Right.
what I mean? That,
Right.
and I think that's the thing. I think in this day and age, it's hard to be kind of that vulnerable at times, but you're
Yeah.
just like, hey, if it's good enough for you, it's got to be good enough for everybody else, because you're your own hardest, worst critic. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so like I said, I think the environment, yeah, it shaped a little bit of my design, like, and maybe where I would research and look at like things for inspiration,
Yeah.
but always trying to stay, you know what, let me go this way.
Right.
When everybody might want to go the other way, I'm like, I'm gonna
I'm gonna
try
go this
this.
way. Right.
Yeah. And I've always, bro, I've always, like, even when I was in high school when we played basketball, back then it's like the MJ, where the fours were out, the fours, the threes, the fours. And I think I made it, our team made it to the state championship game. And so I rocked some like Bo Jackson trainers like in the final game. Cause I was like, my boy was rocking Jordans and the other one was like Air Flights. Most of us had Air Flights, but I was like, I'm gonna do something entirely different. And I think I've just always kind of just had that in me, just say,
Yeah.
just do something different, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You
Right.
cool with it, and then maybe
Right.
other people will like it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm curious during this time of you're building your design career during these like kind of early years right now. But what during that time helped shape how you think about sustainability and creative careers? Because you went from
Mhm.
going from your own personal portfolio, challenging yourself against professional students who are learning a craft. You relocated, went to Virginia, Maryland. You went to the Middle East. Like all these things, you're literally stacking your resume, and then it's like you get your first full-time position in 2018 as an art director, but then you lose it during COVID. So it's like
Mhm.
you're building this design career.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, how did that help shape the way you think about sustainability and creative careers? Because my man, you've lived a great one.
Thank you, bro. I just never gave up, man. That's the thing. I never lost focus on what the end goal was going to be. Like I said, hey, brother, you're talented enough. You can do this full time. You have never worked in an ad agency for the most part. You've never worked in like a branding consultancy. You have creativity. You have an artistic background. You can get there. You've been freelancing for 20 years. You
Yeah,
can get to where you want to get to. I think it's going through those highs and lows that build character, that build, what I'm saying, grit.
right.
And then I always would fall back on my athletic, what I'm saying, life. And that, you've always been challenged, and you've always had to push through. You always had to get that second wind, and then things turn out that much better. And so I just never lost focus. I was just like, hey, I'm gonna keep on. If I get 100 no's, there's gonna be one yes. Somebody's gonna like say, hey, we think that you're capable of handling the designs for our organization. And when I got that opportunity, that was the first time that I had been hired as a
Yeah.
designer, with Aiden Gray, this kind of high-end furniture company. And funny enough, man, they had a collaboration with Diane Keaton, the late Diane Keaton.
Hmm.
And the owner, he was like, it didn't work out with the other designer. and we're already behind schedule in launching this product, in launching her line. And it just kind of threw me in it, like in the deep end in a sense.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, no problem. So what I did was, that woman wrote a book called The House That Pinterest Built. And so I just went through that book as a form of research. And I said, if she's approved everything in this book, the aesthetics, the typography, the
Just use
photographs,
that.
that's it.
Yeah.
I just don't try to reinvent the wheel, just
Right.
just
That
just
just
put a
use
beautiful
that.
hubcap on it. That's all you
Right.
got to do. And so
Right.
that's what I did, man. And and her manager were just like floored when I came up with like all the marketing collateral and the press kit and even the owner of the company. He was like, "Man, like, how did you do this?" She's so impressed. He's like, "We want you to attend the launch with us." And that was at
Oh
the
wow.
High Point Furniture Mart back in 2019. Yeah, it was in 2018, 20. Yeah, so I got a pic with her, and she was just mad cool, and just appreciated the work. And
Yeah.
but then it was short lived, and COVID came, and yeah, and but that allowed me to get other positions. That allowed me to work with other kind of big companies. I worked with Wiley Education in their higher education. I also did with Rockwell Automation. And so, they're like, "Oh, we want you to be a senior designer." And it's like, you get these titles and you're like, "Okay,"
Yeah.
but then you're showing them, um, I have the creative chops, like I can not only do like layout and typography and all, but it's
Hmm.
like I try to throw in my own little creative touch to it as well. And that was appreciated too, because I was
Hmm.
given an opportunity to do some logo design and to come up with a lot of wireframes, within
Yeah.
Wiley. Yeah, which was cool. And that was kind of like a first time. I had done some of it prior with a smaller company, but it got to put me on like a different kind of like stage, and show
Yeah.
like, yeah, I should be here. And yeah, man. So yeah,
That's
it's
dope.
it's it's been a crazy, it's like, man, it's been a crazy ride, honestly, and
Yeah.
just where I'm at now, it's been so gratifying, man, honestly.
Would you change anything about this ride? Would you been like, hey, let me off here? Or would you go back and run it
Nah,
through again?
nah, man. I would keep it just as it is, man. Just of late, honestly, when I've been working with a nonprofit humanitarian relief organization, uh, and I've been with them almost 5 years. And I approached them and I said, "Hey, I presented this creative director position to them, and they kind of shot it down." And I
Hmm.
was just like really hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, at that point came Future London Academy. And that was the best decision that I made for my creative career. It's the
Yeah.
best thing that I've done, after I would say embracing Islam, you know what I'm saying, and becoming Muslim like 27, 28 years ago.
Hmm.
That just put me in such a safe space. It's just like, just to really open
Right.
up the book and say, "Hey, I am an artist,
Right.
at the end of the day, and I am comfortable with that. And,
Yeah.
here are like the different things I can do as an artist." You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's amazing, man. So let's touch a little bit on this big project and passion project you're working towards, the United Colors of Design. This thing
Yeah.
spans over 20 years and it just started literally with a logo. And
That
now
was it.
that logo has now gone into it's sealed in infamy forever in 2011. Talk us through this, man. Like,
Mm.
what does it mean to create something that has proven itself so slowly?
Bro, I think that whenever you're not doing it for the likes or to be accepted or, for money or anything like that, you're just doing it for yourself. I got challenged and I looked back on my past and how that logo came about. I loved the color as a child, so that's why it's very colorful. I got to credit two of my uncles back then that were so inspirational and were a guiding star for me. But it was, I'm trying to think, man, when that came together, brother, I was looking at some Swiss design,
Yeah.
grid, layout, And I was just like, okay, let me just kind of
This ain't
throw
gonna
this
work for
grid
me.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, cause I said, I want it to be like colorful.
Right.
And then I was like, and I start putting in these colors. And honestly, it's made up of 92 colors. This flag, this United Colors of Design. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why called it United Colors of Design. Like figuratively, it's like that. Artistically, it's like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it all kind of goes hand in hand. And so,
Right. Dang, that's crazy.
yeah, and then that was like 10 years after that, Logo Lounge, which is a known, site for
Yeah.
logos. They put out these beautiful Logo Lounge books. And I said, man, let me submit this. Let me see if I can get noticed. And they
Right.
chose that for their it was their I think 3,000
That's
shapes and
dope.
symbols, book. And so I was like, cool. And so it sat in the book and it just sat in my archives for, 10 years, man.
Yeah.
um excuse me, you go back to it was 2022. I
Yeah.
went to a brand new conference in Austin, and oh man, I was so like inspired to do
Yeah.
something after going to that conference. Honestly,
Right,
I
right.
was just like, man, I'm gonna do something in Dallas on a really micro level. And then I just thought, like, what name could I use to bring that about? And
Yeah.
then I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and use this United Colors of Design. I've already got this. I was just like, that just made it just
That's
made sense
cool.
to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's how it started. It started as a for-profit. It was a for-profit, studio. I was
Yeah.
gonna have this like for-profit studio, and I just wasn't getting the traction. I just wasn't
Right.
getting I wasn't where I wanted to be. I did 4 events in 2023, man.
Yeah.
Brought out some great speakers to Dallas, but it just wasn't picking up like I wanted it to. And I said, man, I think if I go this nonprofit route, I
Yeah.
can build community, I can build sustainability, I can get corporate sponsorship. There's a lot of things you can do as a
Yeah.
501c3, but you run it as like a for-profit. That's the thing.
Right.
You have the
Right, right,
the
right.
for-profit mindset, but you run it as a nonprofit. And yeah, it's now it's all about we talk about these emerging creatives, these
Yeah,
young
yeah.
creatives, these young professionals. That's what it's really about. It's really to help motivate them, inspire them, to mentor them, to navigate, the environment they find themselves in with AI, mental health,
Yeah.
bridging the gap, because I'm old enough to be a lot of these people's, father. And so,
Right.
um, it's like being able to say, hey man, I see where you're at, I'm gonna try to meet you where you're at.
Yep.
Of course I grew up in an entirely different world, different era, you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But you could still benefit from some words of wisdom that I can drop on you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
it's just because we're never too old to learn.
Right.
That's the whole thing. And trying to get honestly, man, I think it's trying to get people with you being like an adjunct professor, you're dealing with students and you're
Mhm.
teaching people things. And I don't know if like the environments that you have, if they're either virtual or if you're in person,
In
you
person.
know. Yeah, and there's just something about that, man. There's something about you being in a classroom or you being in a studio with other counterparts and you reading body language, you seeing
Yeah.
style, you seeing a shrug of a shoulder, you see a
Yep.
smirk. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Those things live are different when they're virtual. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
It's entirely different. And so that's the world that I grew up in. By getting the opportunity to go to Future London Academy, it was a no-brainer, man. It
Yeah.
was, like I'm gonna be with 30 other people in London for 2 weeks
Right.
at a time. Come on,
Yep.
man. That's like, and then you have these excursions, you going out
Yep.
and, going to Pentagram and going to like Pearl Fisher and
Yeah.
going to like great studios, like world-renowned studios and rubbing shoulders with like principals in there, chopping it up with them, and you're with like a group of cohorts that are leaders in their own right. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But there's just something about, like I said, that the soft skills that we have, man, that we take for granted, to be able to be in a room and not have to be on your device and just to talk
Right.
to people. There's
Right.
something about that, man, that I think this
100%.
generation can get. Because unfortunately, many of them went through school and they graduated because it was COVID.
100%.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
that was just like devastating. You know,
Right.
that's what this thing is about, man. This is in yeah, just trying to do something where you can give back and that people can see the value in what you're trying to build. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the gap in the design community that you're trying to bridge or fill with this platform that you're building?
I think the multidisciplinary ecosystem is like what we're really trying to build because I was fortunate enough to recently I went over to Dubai. I went last year for Dubai Design Week on behalf of my organization, on behalf of United Colors of Design. And then I also went to Qatar. I was in Doha in January, and it's crazy how unstable things are now. But I was just over there in
Right.
January, you know what I mean? And I got to rub shoulders. I went for it was an event that was primarily for Muslims. It was called GIM. It's a globally empowered Muslim summit. And so they had about 800 of like shakers and bakers and movers and all this type of stuff that were over
Yeah.
there. And I went, with my organization. But I think in that region, you find this multidisciplinary ecosystem
Yeah.
more prevalent. And
Mm,
you're finding architects working with industrial designers, working with interior designers seamlessly. You know what I mean?
right.
Like even in Dubai, you have Dubai Institute for Design and Innovation, and
Uh-huh.
they have a multidisciplinary bachelor's that you
Ooh.
can
Yeah,
acquire.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I think they worked with MIT, they worked with the New School, Parsons in New York to develop their curriculum. But I got to speak with the vice president, of the institute and was talking to him about United Colors of Design and, Design Intersect, this inaugural event that we're
Yeah.
putting on, next month. And it just resonated. They were just like, yeah, that's
That's
kind of like
cool.
where things are kind of like, in a
Yeah, yeah,
sense
yeah.
going. Like it's good to be a specialist, but like a lot of people are wanting like a generalist as well. And like kind of
Yep.
like seeing it from their perspective is invaluable. Like from an architect's perspective, like and you're trying to
Yeah.
solve the same problem, or from an industrial designer's perspective or a
Yeah.
visual artist's perspective, yeah, it's just really invaluable, man. You know what I'm saying?
That reminds me of what is that saying? The master of none, the master
Yeah,
of
the
one?
jack of all trades, the the
Yeah.
the, the master of none. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about that today, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because even when people are applying, they're like, they want you, like, you're applying for a graphic designer, but we want you to be a motion designer. We want you to be an animator. We want you to be, you're like, what? We want you to know UX and UI. And we want you, you're like, golly.
That's the
There's a
truth.
lot.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
lot. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
So I'm cu
Yeah.
I'm curious now, what do you see happening in the design world right now that makes this multidisciplinary collaboration and all these other things you're speaking about feel so urgent that you're like, "Hey, this is something we seriously have to tap into for society, for community, for the students coming behind us that are learning this." So why does it feel or what do you see happening in design that makes you feel like this is urgent?
I mean, I just think at the time where we're living in with AI, and that there's always room for the human interpretation and influence in things.
Yeah.
Like AI is a tool, and don't be blindsided by it, and utilize it for what it's worth. But in the end of the day, these disciplines, we're problem solvers. And
Yeah.
although AI may do the mundane that much faster, but when it
Mhm.
comes to like creativity, just go outside and look at your surroundings, to be motivated. You know what I mean? Because that can really inspire you to produce something
Yeah.
for a client. You know what I'm saying? And you're not tapped into the artificial or the virtual reality world.
Right.
I just think that there's just something about these disciplines coexisting with one another and
Mhm.
collaborating with one another because it just makes the end result that much more holistic, and that
Yeah.
much more richer, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
than if you were just to have four people from the same discipline together
Right.
and trying to
Right,
solve
right,
the same problem. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah.
There's just something, and I got that when I was at Future London Academy because we had 30 cohorts. we had marketing specialists, we had creative directors, we had
Yeah.
product designers, industrial designers, architects, boutique
Yeah.
owners, fashion design, whereas it was in that times we had to come together to solve a problem that
Mm-hmm.
we were tasked with in utilizing our own, specialties,
Right.
and
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
you
sense.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it made the outcome like,
10
man, it's
times
like, oh
better.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was 10 times better. It's like, oh yeah, I can come up with the logo and I can do the naming. And so that's what I would do. Another person's like, oh, I can do the videography. You know what I'm saying? I can do
Right.
that,
Yeah.
and oh, we need something that's modular and sustainable. And they're an architect. They're like, okay, bam, that. So it was that sort of thing. And that's what made that program so special. That's what made it so special. And so close with those people. I'm still close with those people today. Like 7 of those people are on my board, like from my class.
Yeah.
They make up my board of directors, you know what I'm saying? So
That's dope. That's dope,
yeah.
brother. That is so good. That's why I think being a freelancer is fun until like you need that community. Like, remember what we spoke about before? It's just like, I've been doing this for so long. I'm like, where's people that are doing this? Like, I got to find my cohort. I got to go back to find it because once you're out of
Exactly.
school, you're kind of by yourself until you
Yeah,
reach and make those connections and grow those pockets of creativity. It's going to,
exactly.
sometimes you miss out on those big things.
Exactly.
So there's
Exactly.
something I want to step into that's very personal to you. We're going to talk about
Okay.
a little bit about your faith and design. So through my research, I found out that you converted to Islam around the same time you started going into design. Now, did that just happen by coincidence, or was there something else connecting you in some other way?
I think in all honesty, man, I was like the black sheep in my family, I'm the middle child and I have an older sister and a younger brother. And although artistically very talented, athletically talented, but just putting myself in situations I didn't need to be in. And so it kind of stems from that. There's got to be a better way of doing things, so I don't end up in a predicament I don't want to be in. And it's like I have no one to blame but myself. It's not like somebody put a gun to my head and said, do this and do that, and so
Right.
um, but think in those, when I decided to do that, I was kind of at a crossroad and I said, I have to finish my degree.
Right.
So it was around that same time that I got enlightened in the sense I was like 26 years old. So I had already lived a little bit of life,
Right.
had traveled a little bit playing ball. But leading up to that, I remember I did an art mural for the Jacksonville Boys Home Association, I believe. It was like an
Uh-huh.
orphanage for boys. And I did this piece called Be a Champion. I painted it inside of one of their dormitories.
Uh-huh.
And and it was just like challenged myself, like, can I paint a mural? Can I do this? I
Mm.
can draw. I ended up doing it. Unfortunately, that organization no longer exists. But I was just kind of at a crossroad, man, and it really helped ground me and to get me back on track. And I ended up going back to University of North Florida, finishing up my degree, because I had 1 year left to complete my degree. I did that. And early on, I was kind of just learning about the religion and the way of life.
Yeah.
But once I got into the community, I saw that there was an opportunity for me to show that, man, I'm a talented guy. I'm an artistic
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I quickly found those pockets and I'm like, oh, hey, they could use my service. You know what I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
saying? So it allowed me, it was a natural kind of like transition to getting back into design
Mm.
because as we mentioned earlier, they gave me an opportunity where
Yeah.
many people would be like, nah, you've never done this before. You're an artist. Okay. But they're like, okay, sure. Yeah. Show me what you got. Show me what you can do. And then it's like, you're like, I got to go head and shoulders above what
Yeah.
they're expecting. And then doing that once, twice, then you start to build a name for yourself and, you become
Hmm.
kind of reputable. And then people are like recommending you to other people. And
Yeah.
a lot of times that's how the freelance world for me has been.
Hmm.
It's like I really haven't gone out and like on the soapbox and I am this and I am that and and
Right.
trying to get the work. It's just kind of just naturally come to me or I saw an opportunity and I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna go for it. What can they say? No? Okay, that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And yeah, and so that's kind of how things started when I first, embraced Islam and became Muslim.
Okay. So I'm curious about your Islamic design studio that you made. It's Dawah Ink.
Yeah,
Is that how you say it? Dawah
Dawah
Ink?
Ink. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dawah
So
Ink. Yeah.
how does it feel to what does it mean to you to design something rooted in such a spiritual identity?
Honestly, I look at it as some of the best work that I can do, really. I came up with this Dawah Ink after me and my family were transitioning back to the States. So that was like in 2011, the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. I said, man, I want to go back over. I want to have something where I can just do like Islamic work, whether it's my own kind of abstract realism Islamic work, paintings or posters but yet working with like faith-based organizations to do work for them as well.
Yeah.
And Dawa is Arabic for like to call. So
Hmm.
like you're calling people to the faith. And then ink, I was just like, I didn't want to call it Dawa pencil. I was just like, okay, ink, it's like an oxymoron in a sense, I guess.
Right.
It's like,
Right. Right.
so I said Dawa, and the people's like ink, oh, like INC. I'm like, no, like INK, like an ink pen. And because that
Yeah.
represents the artistic part of it. And so, yeah, if you if you go to the website and you look at or if you go on the Instagram page and you look at some of the stuff that I've done, it's really modern, minimalistic, you know, Swiss inspired,
Hmm.
Bauhaus inspired, modern. It's not like your typical calligraphy,
Right.
traditional Islamic artwork that you would see.
Yeah.
And I do
It,
that purposely. I'm like, I just do it like to go against the grain, just to do something entirely different that people haven't seen, but maybe they'll still appreciate,
yeah.
the work. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So another thing I found really interesting when researching this organization is that you pledged 20% of proceeds to go to humanitarian organizations. Now, let's be honest, we're designers. No, design as philanthropy is not a conversation a lot of us have. Like, you want us to work for free?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Because we get it, right? But why is it important to you that your creative work is carries that kind of heavy responsibility?
I mean, because at the end of the day, it's just about being morally upright, and doing something that can impact communities that are just less fortunate than you. You know what I mean? And so if I'm able to give 20%, some of my earnings, which isn't much, you know what I mean? And it can help clothe, it can help feed, it can provide clean water, it can provide some type of, educational benefit for those who might not necessarily be able to get that and that in the region of the world that they're at. I'm all for it. Like this past Ramadan, I did a charity type of campaign where I published a book called 99 Names of Allah. It's called Plus 99 Names of Allah, and it's
Mhm.
a very colorful flip book on these names of and attributes of God. And so all the proceeds went to one of the local Islamic centers that I attend. So
Yeah.
yeah, I sold like, I don't know, almost $1,000 worth of the book and all the proceeds were going to that particular Islamic center.
Yeah, and I noticed that that book, it's spoken word. Is
The
that the same book? Or is
No,
it I'm sorry, The 92 Colors? Is that
oh, the
another
90
book?
no, 92 colors, yeah, that 92 colors is a
Okay.
short 3-minute film, if you want to say. At I me and a buddy of mine that's a great cinematographer.
Yeah.
We came together, and that was my final project for Future London Academy. It was
Got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
they wanted us. They came to us and they say, hey, for your final project, it's a 3-minute presentation that you have to give to a panel of design leaders about anything that you're passionate about. Something, project that you're working on, your business or whatever. And so I said, I'm not going to do a 3-minute presentation. I said, I'm gonna produce a video, and then I'm gonna
Yeah.
do a piece of spoken word. So it's gonna be it's just showing creativity, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was like, because I'm an artist in the end. I was just like, I'm gonna do something very creative that I imagine nobody would do. And
Yeah.
sure enough, nobody did that. Nobody produced
Yeah.
a video, and it was a piece of spoken word, and I got to go through
That's
the
dope.
very beginnings of United Colors of Design, and but yeah, you can check it out. And my buddy, this dude Chance, man, excellent cinematographer. He's the one that directed me and guided me through it. Yeah,
That's dope, man.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so this is the one part I like to throw in, which is the rapid fire questions. All right.
Okay,
So you got to just give me your best answer you can come up with. So
okay, no problem.
basketball or design?
I'm gonna say design now.
Okay.
I've I've
Az-
I've, I've hung up the tennis shoes. Yeah.
okay, here we go. Harder to master, designing for a corporation or designing for a community?
Ooh, probably for a community. Yeah.
Designer's work who keeps you coming back.
Mm. A designer's work that keeps you coming back.
You see it that one time and you're like, man, I might have to come
Mm,
back to this one.
There's this typographer studio. They're called, I think it's Moku. It's in New York. I met the owner in Austin. He's Italian. Man, he does some beautiful work. I think it's Mucco, I think. I think that's it. They're based out of New York. They did the pier, they rebranded this pier in New York City. Oh,
Yeah, it
amazing
is.
work, man.
MUC. That's what it looks like.
Hold
No,
on,
that's
no.
in Barcelona.
MUCCO, MUCC, MUCC. I think, man, I can't. What is it? His studio, they do beautiful typography. He was like, I think he was the director for the Typography Club of New York. He's originally from Italy, and he's been in New York for a good while. And he just, his, his, his work. I mean, as far as like typography, whew,
Yeah.
amazing stuff. I love it. Yeah, I love because that's not
Okay.
my real cup of tea. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Spoken word or visual design?
Visual design.
Okay.
Yeah, that comes a bit easier. Spoken word
Okay.
takes some time. Spoken word takes some time to put together.
Best genre of hip hop, either the early hip hop, the 90s, or now.
The '90s. The
And
'90s,
last
because you.
last last question though. Because I don't want to get you, I don't want you to get yourself in trouble with that one because we got a lot of
But
people. Listen, I was born in 87. I'm a millennial. I love 90s hip hop. That's all I play in my class as my kids are working. I promise
I
you,
say that
if you
I
come into
say
my
that
class, you will
because
hear it.
you know what, man? Wow, man. See, I graduated high school in '90, and so yeah, so that '90 to like '96. Because you still have all those earlier groups that came into the night, the Arabian Rakim, the LL, the EPMD, the Public Enemy, the De La, the Tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Beautiful,
Okay.
man. It literally, you can hear it. Like kids know they're like, "Oh, that's Professor Robinson. He's playing music." When I'm done lecturing, I play
You
music and let them work. Like I don't like sitting in a very quiet classroom. And sometimes
let
students
them,
put their headphones on to listen to their own music. I'm like, "Hey, whatever
hey,
works."
whatever
So
suits you. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
so here we go. Favorite Jordan of all time.
I gotta go with,
I know. This is a tough one.
you know what? I like was that the one, two, three, the four with the reflective tongue.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
I had those. Those are my joints right there. I had the
I
black with
have
the reflective tongue. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I got some
I'm a
ones now. I just bought some ones, but yeah,
I'm a 1 and 4 guy.
yeah,
I love the way the 4 looks. It's a beautiful silhouette.
yeah.
I'm slowly starting to enjoy the 5, but
Mm-mm.
I go
Yeah,
back. I'm a 1
I had the
and
I
4.
had yeah, I had the three. I had the four. I think I might have the five too, but yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That one and the four. Yeah,
Okay. All right. So, Mustafa, we're having a great time rolling, but I have just a few deeper questions before we close.
no
I
problem.
mean, we've talked about it, man. You built a career largely outside of the traditional design pipeline. No degree, no design degree, to be a matter of fact. No early agency job, no career path. What did that actually cost you? And what did it give you that people on the traditional path will never get?
So you said, what did it cost me?
Yeah.
You know, I can't put a price on it, honestly. Sometimes it costs me, time, money, maybe time with my family, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change it, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I wouldn't change it for the world because I'm just a realist. Like I'm all about like the practical.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that it gave me. And it almost like expedited my learning process,
Yeah.
compared to now, granted, as I sit right now, sometimes I envy those people, that had the opportunity or still do, work with
Hmm.
huge branding consultancies or the Apple of the world, or, and they're doing creative work within those spaces. But there's just something about taking the path less traveled,
Hmm.
um, and what it does for, your confidence, your psyche,
Yeah.
your skill set. Because you a lot of times you're put into these kind of awkward situations, man, and
Hmm.
you either have to put up or shut up. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And it's been a roller coaster, man.
Hmm.
I would say early on, like being able to look back on it. But I'm so happy that I took this route, and because now I'm able to connect with all those people. You
Yeah.
know, I'm able to rub shoulders with those people, I'm able to invite those people as guests, for an
Yeah.
event. And you find that they're all just so humble, man.
Right.
They're
Yep.
also down to earth, and that's the beauty of it. But as a 25, 26 year old, you're just like, oh man, I
Right.
can't get on, nobody's giving
Yep.
me an opportunity, you know what I mean?
Oh,
But I'm in my 50s, it's like, hey, I still got to where I was supposed to get to.
right. Right. So, what is something about the design industry you wish people had more courage to say out loud?
That it's still a segmented type of industry. I mean, why do we have Where Are the Black Designers organization? If you've heard of that organization, it's like 10,000 plus. Why do you have, the professor at University of North Texas and there's a professor at, I think she's at Tennessee State, that are writing and Cheryl Miller that are still bringing up these things about, the racist tones and everything that
Yeah.
we're still encountering, in this space.
Kalina Sells, that's the one.
That's it. Yep.
Yes.
Kalina Sales. I met her at University of North Texas right before released her book. And Omari, she's that's at the University of
Yes.
North Texas. Yeah, professor there. I met him as well. And so, yeah, this is America. This is how the country was set up. You know what I mean? And the reality is you still got to work twice as hard to almost get half as far. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And to build the credibility and build a legitimacy, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, for your brand, for your name, you know what I'm saying, as a
Yeah.
person of color, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's just the hard truth, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
For a young creative sitting somewhere right now who feels like they're on the outside of the design world looking in, what do you want them to know?
There's always space for your talent, you know. Don't ever think that you're not capable of getting into a space and doing something where you're passionate about it and you would like to live, or make a livelihood out of it, as long as you just be your most authentic self, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, anything is possible, but don't compromise, just be your
Hmm.
most authentic self, be genuine, and those doors are open, you know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
when they do, just be prepared, you know,
Right.
don't ever have any regrets, just
Yep.
like, just be prepared when those doors do open for you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would you tell your younger self? The kid got the scholarship, lost the scholarship, trying to figure life out. What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell him, you know what, bro? You're gonna have to be patient. You're gonna have to be patient. You're gonna have to persevere through the ups and downs because it's never your way or the highway.
Hmm.
You're gonna have to, yeah, you're gonna have to persevere and have a level of integrity to get through the tough times, and always be willing to ask questions and listen,
Mm.
and don't and just and be vulnerable, and be vulnerable. And like I said, and just be you, be your most
Yeah.
authentic self. I think that's one of the highlights. Just be authentic. I know it's a word
Yeah.
that's used a lot, what I'm saying, these days, but
Yeah.
I really hold true to it.
Yeah. And lastly, with a decade, Mustafa, spanning with a career spanning 2 decades, when someone experiences something you've helped make, what do you ultimately hope they feel, and what do you hope they carry with them after that experience?
That it's possible for them to do the same. You know, you know, yeah, it's possible for you to do the same within your space, and hopefully, they're inspired and motivated to do something, what I'm saying, within their space that can affect, the people around them
Yeah.
positively.
Yep.
Yeah, and
100%.
yeah. So that's it, bro.
All right, my brother Mustafa, where can the people find you, and what do they have, and what do you have coming up?
So you can find me at unitedcolorsofdesign.org, and on Instagram, it's United Colors of Design. That's the handle. We have a special event coming up in New York City. It's going to be Thursday, April the 9th at the Museum of Art and Design. That's in Midtown. We have a great panel, 7 speakers for Design Intersect. We have the renowned Say Adams, a visual artist. We've got Pascal Sablan. She is CEO, a woman of color architect for Adja Associates in New York. I have Jesse Reed. He has a design studio, Order Design, out of Brooklyn. He has Standards Manual. It's a publication company. He also has Standards. It's a platform where you can put in branding and everything online. I have Sue Matthews Hale. She's coming from New York. She has Hale Design. It's called Hello Hale. She rebranded Papa John's, Walmart. She's a speaker. I've got Shabar Sagarwala. He's coming from Dubai. He's an architect. Dude is, master's from Harvard, working on a PhD from University of Tokyo. Urbanism is his thing. He's a great guy. I have Yali Lau coming from Singapore. She has Light Collab. She's an industrial designer. And then the final presenter or guest speaker is Jesse Hill coming from Baltimore. It's Hill Studio, former Herman Miller creative, and he has his own studio now. Beautiful work he does out of his studio, industrial designer. So want people to come out, hopefully to be motivated, inspired, and to do great things. And so, yeah, come
Good.
out, show support.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. My name is Justin Robinson. I have the man of many design ideas, creativity, community builder. I don't even know what else I could say about this man, the great, talented Mustafa. And this is the Art School Graduate Podcast. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Appreciate it, bro. Take care.